Okay, well, welcome, guys, and happy new year to everybody. So glad that everyone could make it and was able to take time out of their busy day and their schedule in the new year to be here. Um, with that said, I know I recognize a lot of the people that are here, but for the people that haven't been here yet, real quick, I'm going to do a little brief introduction of myself. My name is Richard Sprunger. I've been with the Power of Story now for a couple of months, and it's been a very huge privilege and inspiration to be here, getting my story out there, the story of other veterans, my experiences, to hopefully have a positive impact in your life, in their lives, and for whoever happens to see this. Myself, I was born in Ohio, and early on in life, I ended up having some serious traumas. My father got killed by a drunk driver when I was 12, and I lost my mom emotionally and catatomically at the same point in time. And I was kind of left alone to deal with my own remorse and trauma. My sister and I kind of bonded, and, you know, to the siblings out there that care for siblings, thank you. I know that Tammy saved my life, and I am in part here because of her. But what I didn't realize when my father got killed is it sent me down this path that I found out later of hyperachieving and overachieving and trying to make a dead man proud because I was trying to earn his love on a daily basis, not even knowing what I was doing. And I actually, ironically enough, felt abandoned. When you're 12 and you don't have anyone to talk to or make sense of things, in the absence of the answers, the brain formulates questions. And I had questions and I didn't have answers. So then I filled in the blanks with the negativity. Our mind has a 10 times greater affinity for negativity than it does positivity. So I had to find something to make sense of it. To me, it was I was abandoned. And then anger crept in, and I kept trying to achieve my dad's love. Why is that important? Well, it led me to the military. And then from in the military, I couldn't just be average. I had to overachieve, so I became a military medic, and that wasn't good enough. I wanted to serve the special forces. Well, I was a Marine medic for a while. It's called a 8404, so Marine medic, but you can't be that for the SEAL teams. I know the SEALs were the biggest pipe hitters out there, and I wanted to be a medic for the SEALs. In order to do that, I had to become a SEAL. So I just kept that pattern of overachieving. And then from there, multiple injuries, had to find something safer to do. I became a firefighter, and I've been a firefighter for 25 years. And here's what I learned: it was safer physically, but not emotionally. And that took me through this cycle of PTSD and depression and drinking and reckless behavior. Um, you know, drinking, having lost my dad to a drunk driver doesn't make any sense, but drinking and then going out and riding the Harley, doing 100 miles an hour on the freeway, splitting traffic while drinking, because my nervous system was in such a state. It got to the point where I wasn't afraid of dying anymore. I was afraid of living because I didn't know when the nightmares, the voices, the dreams would come. And who would I tell that to? Any guesses? Did I tell anybody? No. I see the head shaking. No. Because in the military, as a SEAL, Army, Marine, Air Force, Coast Guard, see if I'm forgetting any, National Guard, anyone that's ever served, and the EMS profession, police, firefighters, and medics, the real four-letter word is feelings. It's something you don't talk about. It's something you don't bring up. And I know Rand can probably attest to this. And I know Sarah and Michelle, you've had your own experiences in life where you would state how you were feeling and then it was challenged, right? For men, it was demasculating because they would, and I hate to use this, they would tend to feminize us if we brought up feelings. Put your purse down, pull your panties up. And it was very demasculating. So we learned very quickly. I learned very quickly between the military and the fire department that I can't talk about what I'm feeling and what's going on. And Rand, I'm sure I see you nodding your head. I'm sure you felt that as well. And for women, it's the same but different. You're told that you can express yourself, but in not the feelings way, but the aggressive way. If you go to speak up, now you're the B word. Now you're out of control. Now you're crazy. And believe it or not, back in the day, nobody judged me because I'm bigger than you. My guilty pleasure used to be watching Madam Secretary. It was a movie years and years ago. And there was a scene in there where she was interviewing somebody for a position in her cabinet. And she told her staff who this woman she was interviewing was going to be. And they go, "Oh, that woman? She's crazy." Well, the woman was speaking to Congress and was very emboldened and passionate about what she was speaking, and actually threw a chair towards the congressman because they weren't listening. And Madam Secretary, I can't remember her name at the time, she said, if that was a man, you would say he was passionate, he was powerful, he was brave. But it's a woman, so you're going to say she's crazy or she's a bitch. So we've all in our life, male or female, been given reasons to what? Not share, not speak up, to hold our tongue, to bite our tongue, right? What we don't say becomes what we actually carry. I want to say that again. Let you think about it. The words we don't say end up becoming the words that we carry. There's a book. It's about being called "The Things We Carry," and it is a powerful, powerful book. And in there, there's a line where he says, "Men would rather face death than be thought a coward." Men would rather face death than be thought a coward. So that leads in again to what? Don't speak up. Don't talk about what you're feeling. So now that terror and that fear and that heartache become part of what we actually carry. As first responders and veterans, we have become experts at suppression, not talking about it, burying it. We hold the line and then we hold our tongues. But the silence becomes its own kind of burden. What I would like to do is have a safe here, a safe place here where if things are coming up, and I want to talk about when the last time you held your tongue or you didn't speak up or you held in something that you were feeling that you couldn't get out. And what did it cost you emotionally? What did it cost you physically? It could be grief, it could be trauma, it could be regret, it could be fear, it could be guilt, you know. But the healing only begins when we name what hurts us, you know. So for me, it was not being able to express the sadness of losing my father and the anger at my mother for not being available for me when that happened. And it cost me so much of my life in inner peace and turmoil. So I want to open it up. And again, it's a safe place, everybody. There's no judgment here. We all feel that all behavior, thoughts, and feelings are understandable, when you really look at them. So when was the last time that you potentially held your tongue or didn't speak up and then it created turmoil for you in one way or the other? Go ahead,
Kept
sir.
on my, is this still on?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I can relate to that in a very long-term sense of, I came from a culture where you didn't talk about certain things. For example, suicide, right? I, my family, I never realized until recently how uh, the warrior thesis, uh, penetrated my family. All my uncles were World War II combat veterans, except
Mm,
one. Uh, and my father too, a Mustang pilot during World War II. And they never talked about the war. Never. And then I go off to war, and my very first night in Vietnam, a man who was going home the next day, I'm coming in, he's going out. We happen to be in the same tent called a transition tent. And he picks up his pistol He's 40 feet away from me. I didn't see him do the act, but he killed himself. Picked up his pistol and blew his brains out. And it turned out the mail he was looking at was a letter from his girlfriend. He took the most recent one first, and it was a Dear John letter. I don't think he ever even thought about it. So, talk about anxiety and, in a combat zone, especially in Vietnam, your anxiety level is always at a pretty high threshold. The average combat Marine in Vietnam saw action 157 days out of a year. In Korea, it was 75, and World War II was about 10 days a year. It's because of the nature of the guerrilla thing. So I came home and I was drinking my brains out late at night, and but I went out to the with my dad out to airfield one day because he had an airplane, and I started talking to him about, I don't know, I just started talking about one of the things that had happened, and he started yelling at me. Richard, he's yelling at me. Don't, no, no, don't do that. We don't ever talk about it. We don't, you're home, you're safe now. Uh, and I said, well, I'm going to OCS so I can keep my temporary lieutenant bars, and I'm almost certainly going to go back, having being combat veteran and second lieutenant's short supply. And so I try to, and he's beating, finally he's taking a newspaper. He's beating me over the head with a newspaper. Like I'm 12 years old again. And I never talked about it again. I never talked about
Mhm.
it again. It took me 60 years of just kind of doing my thing and being successful most of the time. Alcohol certainly became a problem pretty, later on. What it took for me was to get sober, stay sober for almost 10 years, and then realize I had self-imposed myself in a cell because of all the things that were tight, locked up in my brain. And somehow I got hooked up with a veterans group at Syracuse University. It's called the Veterans Writing Workshop. Because what I did was I started writing this stuff all out. This goes right to what you said, Richard. For whatever reason, after 60 years, I started writing out about one thing and then another thing and another thing, right? That had happened. I don't know why I was doing it. I have no idea really. But I just felt compelled to put it on paper. And
Mhm.
then, uh, and then I found out about this group and I joined them and I went over there and, you know, these guys were writing about stuff too. And we started doing it together, right? And I started writing it out and it was painful because it brought back stuff I had buried so far in that dark part of my brain you don't want to go into without a shotgun
Mhm.
and a shot light and a flashlight, you know. And so bringing it back out in the light of day was, in one level, was very painful sometimes, but in the end, it was therapeutic because it was somehow I was getting it outside of me, like I could
Mhm.
like watching a movie or something. I don't know. I can't even explain it. Um, and then working with these guys. The writing group is sponsored by literature professors at Syracuse University. They all happen to be ladies. Well, one of the guys that's a veteran is also a professor at Syracuse University. And it's a great group. They take our writing and they tear it apart and then we put it back together again, and make it a lot better. And so, and one thing leads to another. One of the guys started helping me out, kind of giving a couple things to magazines. And gosh, this morning at 10:30, one of my stories about the consequences of Vietnam is Inconsequence Substack, and it's been published um, for all the world to see. And that one happens to be about me coming back and my nightmares and all that stuff. I did talk about one or two specific things, but um, so yeah, we have to take it out. I don't remember the exact wording you used, but it has to come out of our brains and it has to go somewhere else.
Yeah,
And for a lot
we
of
gotta
us,
file. We gotta consolidate.
yeah. So what you said was very powerful.
I
That's how
appreciate
I
that, man.
relate to
And
it. I'll just say it that way because I have a tendency to talk too much.
no, you know what? I appreciate everything you say and how you say it. Um, I love you
Mm.
for the way that you show up and the way you're here, and every week, and just your strength, and I see your hand, Sarah. I read an article years ago, and it really made sense of some of the things that I've been going through. I'm only 56, so I'm still just a kid. Um, but I've had 80 years of trauma experience. I mean, my nervous system shot. We have a therapist in the fire department, and he talks about even in the slow stations in the bigger departments, the average person sees more trauma in a week or two than an adult should see their whole life.
Mhm.
Now you take that some of the busier stations we have where you don't even make your bed. You sleep in the recliners because you're running 22 calls in 24 hours. You know, those guys are seeing more trauma sometimes in a day than the average human being does in a year, in a lifetime. And we keep filing it away, like you said. In the article I read, because about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, the nightmares started again. And it's funny, and it's not funny, but they're not like nightmares you would expect, but you still wake up in cold sweats. One of them was a reoccurring nightmare that we were in close quarters battle, and I had to pull my sidearm, and I pulled my sidearm, and I kept pulling the trigger, and it wouldn't fire, and it wouldn't fire, and it wouldn't fire. And it was terrifying. And I'd wake up in a cold sweat. And then every time I went back to sleep, I just went right back there every time. And they got to the point where I'd have to get up, you know. And then I had another nightmare, and they're not ones that you think, but they still disrupt. You see, your body doesn't perceive real versus not real, and it doesn't have a gatekeeper for trauma. So that dream is just as traumatizing as me having the dream of holding Mark in my arms when he died. It has the same effect on your nervous system. And they were interviewing some Vietnam in World War One and Two veterans, and that saying "I give a damn's" busted, right? Well, your "I don't give a damn" button gets busted as we age, and it's somewhere around the age of 50 to 65 when it really kicks in for people, where their ability to withhold and carry and suppress is not as strong as it used to be, and therefore these emotions start flooding back in and we don't know what to do with them. So what you're saying makes absolute sense. I'm so grateful that you found an organization, and those organizations are out there everywhere. I'm a member of an organization that does free veterans groups to help veterans process. So it's amazing that you found that, and I'm so grateful. So thank you for that. And I mean, I love you, man. Sarah, what's coming up?
I hope I'm not repeating myself, but I really just appreciate what you said, Richard, and just your response to Rand. And Rand, thank you so much for sharing and being open with that. Um, I did appreciate again hearing again the power of writing, of getting all this stuff out. And I definitely want to talk to you more, Rand, about your experience. I'd love to know more because I'd like to utilize that. It's been fascinating to me to read all the studies, actual studies of how there is a holistic healing effect when you get those stories out. If you don't trust people right now with the deep, hard stories, writing them out, but even more powerfully anchoring is when you can actually tell supportive people, read those stories or share those stories. So I just wanted to thank you both for sharing that and reiterating again the power of just getting this stuff out. So thank you.
I appreciate that share. And I don't know what the scientific term for it is. I don't recall, but I was told that they just call it pen therapy. There's something about when you put a pen in your hand, it makes you feel connected to something as you write out. Whereas if you just speak it, sometimes you don't feel connected. And to your everything's about, and you guys hear me talk about this a lot, the nervous system. So for anyone that happens to be watching this, I want to talk about that for just a moment. Hi, Bruce. Welcome, sir. There's something about your nervous system that people don't understand. Is there's a practice called somatic therapy, somatics. And what that stands for is the body outside of the mind. I have a saying, I call it the mind body junction. We have our body that lives one thing way and our mind that lives the other. They're connected, but they both experience life differently, if that makes any sense. So when we experience something in our brain, our body will store it. And it can manifest in blood pressure. There's a reason, look it up. This isn't just me, it's scientifically proven that Sunday nights and Monday mornings are the highest incident, especially among men, for cardiac arrest and stroke. Sunday night, weekend's coming to a close. Monday, they're getting ready to go to work. The body gets in a tizzy. It's a proven fact. So somatics is the body outside of the mind. So when we say something to somebody, there may or may not be a connection, but when you have a pen in hand and you're writing it, you're saying the word, as you write, you're saying the word subconsciously. So you're speaking it, you got a pen in your hand, you're connected to something, and you're writing it. So it's like expression squared, if that makes any sense. And it changes our brain chemistry, how we connect to what we're writing. So it's very powerful. And for the clients that I work with in my coaching, I don't call it journaling because men won't journal, right, Rand? Right, Bruce? Journaling, God, no, that's for women. But I tell them it's reflection paperwork. I need you to write me an essay this week. And they're like, oh, heck yeah, I'll do that, man. I can't call it journaling because that's demasculizing, right? So it's kind of funny. Gentlemen that are listening, we're not as tough as we think we are. And you got to admit it. We are actually more fragile than we like to lead on, but there is something when we write that creates greater connection and release. So I encourage it, and I have all my clients. When I start with them, the first thing I do is I have them, who are you? Who am I? Who is Rand Timmerman? Who is, Bruce Kirk? Who is Captain Kirk, right? And I have them write it out. And then we digest it, tear it apart, Rand, right? Tear it apart, put it back together, and they end up rewriting it because they don't talk about who they are. They talk about what they do. Because we have such a thing in society that what we do is who we are versus we do what we do because of who we are. It sounds very similar, but it's so different in context. I don't know if that makes any sense. So I'm curious, is anyone brave enough? And Bruce, you got on a little bit late, so I'll just recap. Why am I here? Traumatic life, put me in the military, became a SEAL. From that, I became a firefighter. Lots of other things in there, but that's kind of why I'm here and kind of facilitating this today. I see Captain Kirk, so either that's a play on Star Trek, or you were a military captain or an EMS captain. Which was it, sir?
Star Trek Enterprise.
Okay. I just want to know if it was from service or if it was a play on words.
Yeah, I purposely put it in quotes because no captain from the military puts their rank in quotes. But
Got it. All right.
Yep. Thank you for
So we're
asking.
talking.
Yep.
Absolutely. We're talking today about the weight of silence, and the things that we don't talk about are actually the things that we carry, and the devastating weight of silence. And we're talking about that right now. So another question, and you guys know me, if you've gotten to know anything about me now, I like asking deep questions that cause reflection and hopefully hit a nerve, because there's healing in the feeling. That's another trick I use with my clients. Hopefully none of them hear this. I get them to feel something because then they can heal something, you know? So what's something that you've never said out loud, but you still think about often?
Repeat that, please.
What is something that you've never said out loud? It could be a troubling thought, a fear, something you've experienced, but what's something that you've never said out loud, but you still really think about often?
I got one for you.
Go ahead.
I just thought of this too. You were talking about the darkness of the night and how we become traumatized even more in the middle of the night, in the scary part of the night, however you want to put it. And so I've just experienced pretty much complete blindness in one day. And I think it's going to be fixed all right, but and then I had a very bad diagnosis. And then, but in the middle of the night, oh my God, I was having a hard time sleeping, which you could probably understand that. And then waking up and not being able to go back to sleep and looking around the room, which is totally dark, thinking, oh my God, it could be like this the rest of my life. And the unspoken part was I have been very stoic with my kids and my grandchildren, who I've been spending quite a bit of time with. One of them drives, so she's been driving me around and stuff. And that, I'm just like, to me, it's being their grandfather, their father, being strong in the face of adversity, and this is the right way to handle it, and being calm and all that. And inside, I'm thinking, I would rather be dead than to give up all the dreams I have for the next 10 years. I've written some books. I got a whole bunch more books rattling around my brain. I'm still walking 3 or 4 or 5, 6, 7. I've been walking 7 miles a day ever since I did the trail, and even before that, the Appalachian Trail at 72. I mean, I've been pretty dynamic physically, even though I'm a little guy, as far as loving physical challenges and just doing stuff every day. And anyway, I'm getting off track, but yeah, I don't think I could ever say it out loud because it would scare the hell out of everybody, and probably me. But the truth is, I'd rather be dead than blind. So that's my immediate reaction.
That's a lot, man. And that's heavy. That's a
Yeah.
heavy statement. And I really appreciate the fact that you feel safe enough sharing that with us. And you know that we got your back. And if nothing else, you know I got your back.
I appreciate
And I know what you mean, because it's not blindness, but I've pictured myself, due to my injuries and my joint issues and stuff that I have going on. There's going to be a day where I'll be the I can't guy. I've always been the guy. I am grandpa, dude. My kids, anytime, anywhere, anytime. I mean, my son's like, "Hey, Dad, I got a new sniper rifle in my video game." Well, I got that in the safe. Let's go. Hey, Dad, look at this new BMX bike. Well, I got a dirt bike outside. Let's go ride. You know, grandson. Hey, what, you want to fish? You want to swim? You want to wrestle? You want to bike ride? I'm that guy. You know, and I'm terrified of the day that comes where I become the I can't guy.
it.
So I guess I'm just realizing right now that's something that I've never said out loud. And it's just hit me right now. It's the first time I've ever said that to anybody. And I am terrified of the day that I become the I can't guy.
Hmm.
Hmm. Because these calls are more healing than we all think. I'm just kind of feeling that, like, right? Like, right. That's like, feels like a huge weight that I'm feeling
You,
right now.
you asked the damn question.
I didn't expect
It's all
that
your
to
fault.
happen. That's damn me. I see your hand, sir. There's a movie quote, and we all used to say this in the military. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the movie Acts of Valor. It's a SEAL team movie. Do you guys know the pretense of that movie by chance? They took all of the active duty SEALs that were given the Medal of Honor, the Medal of Valor, heroism medals, and Bronze Stars, and they put those together in one concept. All those acts they wrote into this movie. So there's a scene where a guy jumps on a grenade, right? Well, that's the corpsman overseas protecting a sniper platoon, a sniper squad that jumps on a grenade to save them. So these are all acts of valor that were awarded with medals in the military that they put in the movie. So that'll change your perspective next time you watch it. But we always did it. And I don't know what war made this popular, but you always write a letter to your family before you go on a mission, just in case. And there was a letter that this guy wrote that he wrote to his son, and it said something to the effect of, one of the things I fear about growing old is that grown men will no longer fear me. If that doesn't give you an insight to the psyche of the soldiers deploying on the front lines, that for every day of our life, for me, it was 15 years. Every day of our life, you're the strongest, you're the fastest, you're the meanest, the most vicious, the most tired, the most hungry. You are just the most brutal human being on the planet for the entire time you're in the military. To then grow old and become normal, that's a shock to the nervous system as well. So that's why you hear me talk about the nervous system so much, because it does regulate us and how we show up. So thanks for that, Rand. Bruce, what you got?
Yeah, thanks. What am I terrified of saying out loud, I guess, is that every man, no matter how tough, how macho, has a desire to be loved by others and respected. We men talk about it being respected, but and connected with that, we all have our own love language. And that's typically how we contribute to the world. And, but, I've never said that before like that. And for men, it's very difficult to say that. So that's
Yeah,
my
you're
speak,
right.
and I'm sticking to it.
No, and again, I just commend you guys and your openness here with us. Yeah, I just got to edify that, Bruce. I got nothing else to say, but I'm with you. And I feel that because for years we've just been to shut up and provide and don't feel.
Well,
And
you coming on here today is an act of love toward us and whoever's listening, and later on, and it's an expression of love, and that's it's often easy for men to do, but not for easy for men to say.
absolutely, I agree. Michelle, Sarah, anything coming up for you guys? You're part of the family. And if not, it's okay.
I think it's a really important conversation. I'm sitting here in appreciation. That's what's coming up for me. And that's all I have to say.
Right, when you first started talking about, shutting down our feelings and living in silence and the whys behind that, which I think is so important to understand why we choose to carry what we carry in silence. But, being a female in the first responder world, it was exactly what you said. I couldn't be too aggressive, but I couldn't be too emotional. And so it was that fine balance. And I had an amazing mentor who taught me how to be the leader I am today. And he was my commander. And the first thing he told me is he said, Michelle, you got to compose your face. I don't want to see your emotions. I don't want to see upset. I don't want to see angry. I don't want to see nothing. Well, that I think was perfect for what I needed in that moment, but I carried that with me through the rest of my career. And so it took me a long time. I mean, that's 14 years of a career that I kept quiet and I carried everything in myself. And it's only since finding the power of our story of what, Sarah, I think we're going on 4 years ago, 5 years ago, somewhere like that. But it's only since finding this group have I slowly started peeling off the onion layers. And it's hard. But when you ask that question, that question definitely elicited a feeling from me when you said, what is the thought that we don't say out loud? Because I know what mine is. Well, if we're all going to be honest with ourselves, we probably have a few, but mine always go back to my negative core beliefs, which come up, when I'm working through therapy and EMDR and all that stuff. And there's still moments like where I don't want to say it out loud because then I'm giving it a weird life in some type of way. But it's interesting when you ask it because immediately my brain's like, oh, we know. We know exactly what that thought is. And we're still not going to say it out loud right now. I have said it out loud, but it is something that I really do struggle through because it is tied very closely with an emotional response, which I'm coming out of a career where I was taught to not have those emotional responses. So there's definitely like this weird hamster wheel thing that goes on.
Yeah, definitely. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. It just keeps going. And the way I liken it too is going to the gym. Man, I want to go work out, but I'm feeling tired and fast, so I don't go work out. So then you're more tired and fast, so you don't work out. You never end up going to the gym. Then you die of a stroke. If you and I were working together, if you were my client, you and I would be having some serious conversations about the emotion and with the emotion. We would be having a conversation with the feeling that you're feeling so it no longer has a hold or control on you. It's just a thought instead of a feeling.
I think that's so important because one of the things I've realized, and I've talked with Sarah about this, when you come out of PTSD, trauma, whether it's formally diagnosed or not, when you're finally on the other side where you're trying to heal, emotional regulation is something that is one of the hardest things I've had to encounter because now you have to learn how to live with the feelings, which are scary to begin with because we've suppressed them. But then it's like when feelings, sometimes it feels like they're out of control. Like, why am I crying at this stupid commercial again? And so there's this interesting thing that no one really, I find the conversations are happening less and less about how do we now allow ourselves to live with our feelings. So I love that you said that that is where the conversation would go.
Yeah, and I mean this, if you ever want to have a conversation, reach out to me. We don't have to go that deep. And one of the courses that I teach, and I'm considering making it a book, is called Seed of the 10th Power. And it's the 10-step curiosity approach to your feelings, your emotions, and your nervous system. And it's about regulation is the foundation. And it's about challenging some of those beliefs that we have.
Period.
And
No matter what.
it's about challenging some of those beliefs that we have. And it's funny, you said the negative core image that you have, right? You want to know what's really terrifying in relationship? I already said earlier that the negativity has a 10 times greater affinity than positivity, right? No matter how much we love our spouse, do you know what drives our emotional thought process with them most of the time? It's our core negative image we have of them that's unconscious that actually runs the show sometimes.
That's interesting.
But yeah, reach out if you're interested.
I will. And write that book because I'm interested in that too.
Richard, if I could add and piggyback on what Michelle was saying,
Please do.
I've gone through like workshops and groups trying to shed themselves of imposter syndrome. And I'm seeing a lot of connection between what I've just heard so far in a limited time, that we bury our feelings and therefore we're not able to um, express who we truly are in a meaningful way, and that manifests itself as imposter syndrome. That's the label that's been put on it. So it's, and getting free from that is just, curious about your 10-step curiosity process, but but no, because that, getting freed from that has been so, well, um, shedding that imposter syndrome, that mask, if you will, has been so freeing, for me personally. And it's just, I mean, it is a process. It's not a light switch. But yeah, that, I'd encourage you to explore the teachings on imposter syndrome and see how what you're talking about aligns with that, because I
Mhm.
believe it does. Yeah.
Love you, Rand. Um, no, and I love that you bring that up, and that is a whole nother conversation that I should consider um, doing um, one time. Our imposter syndrome, typically for most people, it's a learned condition. It's a taught condition due to some sort of a negative interaction with a person or a group of people that has then made us develop a core negative image that is so powerful that it paralyzes anything that we want to do. So, one of the reasons I don't like therapy is they always look backwards. One of the reasons I like coaching is they always look forward. I blend the work that I do. I look back far enough to find the root cause, and then we play with the root cause to the point that we can then look forward and move forward. I actually, it's funny, one of the imposter syndromes that I had for the longest time was I was a terrible person because of my military career. People would say, "You're a hero, you served, look what you gave, look what you did." And then I get stuck sometimes on the look what I did, right? It's that moral injury. Sometimes it's inflicted on you, sometimes you inflict it on yourself, So the imposter syndrome, it's a bitch because it can be paralyzing, you know. I'm listening to Michelle, and one of the questions I had written down, and I just want to say it to you, Michelle, is how might your story help someone else if they heard it? See, there's people out there that my story may or may not touch. There's people out there that your stories may or may not touch. But there's also people out there that only my story can touch and only your story can touch. And being a woman in the communities that you've been in, you've got a story to tell. And I can't remember her name, dadgummit, Sarah, the first female officer that was on a couple months ago with us.
Yeah, Terry.
That's a story, So, but yeah, I just, I remember who said it, but it's not your story, it's your experience. It's the world's story, so we got to go tell it, So we're a little bit over. I want to play a quick share my screen if you can allow me to do that. I want to play a quick video clip.
Real quick, Richard, my uncle um, was in the Marines on Okinawa, and um, had, a flamethrower operator, and
Mm,
his imposter syndrome was, looking back, he never knew that terminology, was that he couldn't admit to anyone that his feelings and that he had personal emotional hurt and emotional pain. That was not something Marines did, I guess. I don't know. And but not only that he felt, but that he invoked such pain on other people. And and he
Yeah, and
hid that all his life, and it took a toll. It really did.
it does, and often it takes the toll at the bottom of the bottle. And I know that's where I found myself many times.
Not
It,
what?
it takes a toll at the bottom of a bottle.
Uh,
So I want to share this screen for a little bit because we're talking about the weight of silence, right? So it's lighthearted, so it's gonna um, lighten the mood a little bit for us. Hopefully, where's the share button? Share. I got to click the sound button. That was a little button I never knew existed. It took me forever, Sarah. You got to hit share sound.
I get it.
Can you guys see that screen? It's a desk. All right.
Dr. Switzer?
Yes, come in. I'm just washing my hands.
I'm Catherine Bigman. Janet Carlisle referred me.
Oh, yes. Fear of being buried alive in a box.
Yes, that's me. Should I lay down?
Oh, no. We don't do that anymore. Just have a seat. And let me tell you a bit about our billing. I charge $5 for the first 5 minutes. And then absolutely nothing after that. How does that sound?
That sounds great. Too good to be true, as a matter of fact.
Well, I can almost guarantee you that our session won't last the full 5 minutes. Now, we don't do any insurance billing, so you would either have to pay in cash or by check.
Wow, okay.
And I don't make change.
All right.
And go.
Go.
Well, tell
What?
me about the problem that you wish to address.
Oh, okay. Well, I have this fear of being buried alive in a box. I start thinking about being buried alive and I begin to panic.
Has anyone ever tried to bury you alive in a box?
No, but truly thinking about it does make my life horrible. I mean, I can't go through tunnels or be in an elevator or in a house, anything boxy.
So what you're saying is you're claustrophobic.
Yes, that's it.
All right, well, let's go, Catherine. I'm going to say 2 words to you right now. I want you to listen to them very, very carefully. Then I want you to take them out of the office with you and incorporate them into your life.
Well, shall I write them down?
Well, if it makes you comfortable, it's just 2 words. We find most people can remember them.
Okay.
You ready?
Yes.
Okay, here they are. Stop it!
I'm sorry?
Stop it!
Stop it?
Yes, S-T-O-P, new word, I-T.
So, what are you saying?
You know, it's funny. I say 2 simple words, and I cannot tell you the amount of people who say exactly the same thing you're saying. I mean, this is not Yiddish, Catherine. This is English. Stop it.
So, I should just stop it.
There you go. I mean, you don't want to go through life being scared of being buried alive in a box, do you? I mean, that sounds frightening.
It is.
Then stop it.
I can't. I mean, it's been with me since childhood.
No, we don't go there. Just stop it.
So, I should just stop being afraid of being buried alive in a box.
You got it. Good go. Well, it's only been 3 minutes, so that will be
Okay, so What's the point of that? Anybody? Take a guess.
Our fears can be self-fulfilling
Mm-hmm. How many
or
times?
all-consuming.
It's the all-consuming part,
Yeah.
right? But more importantly, she tried to express and she got shut down. She got told, stop it. So, how many times in your life, think about this for a minute, how many times in your life have you thought to share and been told, stop it? Literally, figuratively, or on one way or the other. So, I want to encourage you the next time that something comes up and you're afraid to say it, you've got all these confirming experiences that you've wanted to share something and you couldn't. So now you won't. To stop it and turn that phrase into a positive. Stop buying into the bullshit that you can't share, that you can't express, that your feelings are too much. You belong. You're worth it. You're worthy. So own how you feel and share how you feel. When was the last time somebody opened up to you and you felt so connected to them? Those are the people you need to surround yourself by. I want to challenge you for the next week to take on this simple challenge. It seems simple, right? It's a two-phase challenge. I want you to learn to say more. So the next time your spouse, your partner, your lover, your friend shares something with you, I want you to pause and say, wow, I'm curious. Can you say more? And let them open up. Give them the space you never had. That's the first half. And the second half, how many times, and I know Bruce can attest to this, and honestly, ladies, I haven't asked many ladies this question, but I'm sure it's the same. When somebody asks you how you're doing, you have a traumatic call on EMS, Michelle, or Bruce, I'm not sure your occupation. Sorry, we didn't get a chance to have an introduction. But, I go on a very bad call, then we get back in the fire engine, and everybody asks how you're doing. What do we always say? I'm
Fine.
Yeah, I saw Michelle say it. I heard Bruce say it, right? I'm fine. Fine has two meanings: fucked up, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. And feelings inside not expressed. More often than not, when somebody says, I'm fine, it's a defense mechanism because something's going up, something's going on internally, and they don't feel like they can share or that it's culturally appropriate or it's a safe place. I don't let anyone tell me they're fine. I literally said, you know what? I've got a new rule in my life. I don't accept the phrase I'm fine from anybody because to me, my experience has been that there's something going on. So how are you? Happy, sad, angry? What is it? And then they might laugh and go, no, I appreciate that, Rich, but really I'm fine. I'm good. I'm having a great day and I'm happy. Okay, cool. So don't take the phrase I'm fine and learn to say, I'm curious. Can you tell me? I'm curious. Can you share some?
Little nuance, Richard. I don't ask people how they're doing. I say, how are you? And, the dot, dot, dot is after that. I just say, how are you, Richard?
Love it.
That pregnant pause. And that causes them to pause and not respond with "I'm fine" or "Oh, I'm doing fine." No, I want to, it gets closer to the heart much faster. And then people, um, my experience is that they kind of get the clue that you're willing to listen and that you value it. Oh, how are you? Because we're all oriented around doing, but we're not oriented about feeling, so that
Right.
it kind of brings that, you know, for what it's worth, that brings it out. Yep.
Yeah, there's so much to all these calls. So I guess that would be another hope for you guys. Don't ask somebody how they're doing, how are you, if you don't have at least 10, 15 minutes to hang out. Just say it's been nice talking again. It's been nice seeing you. We'll catch up later. Because maybe somebody is hurting just enough that if you ask, how are you doing? And they might start telling you, and then you say, oh my God, I have a meeting, I gotta go. That could be enough to set them off emotionally into a despair of some sort. I like the question if you have time to sit with it. And we all know those people that I never ask that question because I know what I'm going to get. I'm hanging in there. I'm doing fine. If it was any worse, I'd be dead. That it's just those negative, nillies or whatever the phrase is, right? But if you don't have time, don't ask the question. That would be my hope for you guys. And I'm curious, can you tell me more? And don't accept the phrase I'm fine. Any parting words for anybody? I want to thank everyone for being here and taking your time. And, hopefully I had some impact in a positive way in your life today.